China is racing ahead to build what some analysts call the war machine of the future, while the U.S. Navy struggles with overstretch and aging fleets. Is Washington already falling behind? Is Beijing quietly preparing for a long war against the United States in the Pacific, as new satellite imagery reveals giant support ships that look purpose-built for sustained conflict far from home? China's new mega-replenisher could keep Xi Jinping's warships fueled, armed and fighting for months at sea. Is this the missing piece in Beijing's plan for a true blue water battle fleet? As U.S. stockpiles shrink in the grinding Iran war, is China quietly building the naval backbone to exploit a once-in-a-generation window of American vulnerability in the Pacific? China appears close to launching what may become the world's largest naval support ship, a development that would mark a significant step in Beijing's ability to sustain long-range naval operations. China State Shipbuilding Corporation published a photo of one of its shipyards on May 21st, drawing attention because the image clearly shows an unusually large hull under construction. A massive hull visible in the shipyard photo triggered intense military speculation online, with analysts and open-source observers debating the vessel's role and capabilities. Observers believe the vessel could be a new mega-replenisher designed to provide fuel, ammunition, supplies and maintenance support to People's Liberation Army Navy groups at sea. The support vessel first came to international attention in April after a Jane's report described imagery and data indicating a novel, much larger replenishment platform under construction. Satellite imagery analysts say the ship is being built at Guangzhou's Longxue Shipyard, where the hull and outfitting facilities match the scale seen in released photos. Reports estimate the ship's length at about 271 meters and its beam at roughly 37 meters, dimensions that would place it among the largest support ships ever built. Analysts have assessed the vessel's full load displacement in the range of 60,000 to 65,000 tons, based on hull form, dimensions, and visible outfitting. If those figures are confirmed, the vessel would be larger than the U.S. Navy's retired Sacramento-class fast combat support ships in displacement and overall size. Recent imagery indicates the ship's flight deck, main deck and island superstructure are largely complete, suggesting internal systems installation is the primary remaining work. Experts say the vessel may soon leave dry dock for final outfitting and sea trials, a typical next step after hull and major deck structures are finished. The project underscores China's push toward sustained blue water naval operations by expanding the logistical backbone needed to keep task forces at sea for extended periods. That capability is particularly important because Beijing lacks a network of overseas military bases, making long-range logistics vessels essential for supporting operations far from home waters. At present, China's carrier strike groups rely on two Type 901 fast combat support ships to keep carriers supplied during deployments. In addition to the Type 900 ones, the People's Liberation Army Navy operates smaller Type 903 supply ships that handle replenishment tasks on longer-range or less resource-intensive deployments. Analysts argue that the introduction of a potential mega-replenisher would be necessary to sustain any future supercarrier or larger carrier task groups by increasing fuel, stores and ammunition throughput at sea. Chinese state media say Beijing has unveiled a new naval anti-drone air defense system designed to protect warships from low-flying unmanned threats. According to CCTV, the system has passed a full finalization test in the Bohai Sea, marking the end of its development phase. Officials say this successful trial clears the system for mass production and deployment across China's naval fleet. Reports add that the system intercepted multiple low-flying drones during the test, demonstrating its ability to counter difficult targets. Chinese media claim the target drones executed high-difficulty stealth attack profiles meant to stress the system's sensors and interceptors. The exercise was described as simulating realistic combat conditions at sea, rather than a simple range demonstration. In the scenario, drones reportedly flew just above sea level to evade shipborne radar detection through sea-skimming tactics. Beijing says the system continued to operate effectively even in complex electromagnetic conditions, suggesting resistance to jamming and interference. CCTV broadcast footage that showed sea-skimming drones being destroyed in mid-flight during the interception sequence. However, the broadcast did not reveal the weapon's official name or detailed technical specifications, keeping much of the design secret. Chinese outlets also blurred images of the control room and the intercepting platform in the footage to conceal sensitive details. Authorities claimed the test generated solid data that will be used to further improve the system's combat performance. The reports note that the PLA Navy has been steadily expanding its ship-based air defense capabilities to meet rising drone threats. China is simultaneously upgrading short-range interceptor missiles optimized for naval warfare and close-in defense. Previously, Beijing unveiled the Liaoyuan-1 laser weapon as another tool to counter drone swarms and bolster layered ship protection. Even as President Donald Trump praised his talks with President Xi Jinping, a senior U.S. military commander warned that China is continuing to rapidly expand and modernize its armed forces. Lieutenant General Stephen Sklenka said China can no longer be described merely as a near-peer rival to the United States. Speaking at the Modern-Day Marine Expo in Washington, Sklenka declared that Beijing now rivals Washington across nearly every major area of power. The Marine General also warned that any future war with China would make the Iran conflict pale by comparison. According to Sklenka, even Iran, despite being a mid-tier power, managed to inflict significant military pain on the United States and its allies. Sklenka further warned that China's shipbuilding capacity is now reportedly 230 times larger than that of the United States. The general also claimed Beijing has rapidly expanded its ballistic missile arsenal and nuclear submarine production capabilities. The warning comes just days after Trump publicly hailed his discussions with Xi Jinping as productive and successful. Lieutenant General Stephen Sklenka said, and I quote, "The Chinese leader's vision is to upend the international structure and supplant us as the global leaders. And in many ways, it's been Xi's thinking, his vision that has helped my own thinking about the demands of modern warfare, particularly when waged in the Pacific and particularly waged against a peer adversary, something that's new to all of us. We're about 2 months into combat operations with epic fury. We've got service members who have tragically been wounded and killed by Iran. They've launched hundreds of drones and ballistic missiles at our bases and our allies throughout the region. Israel, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Kuwait, Jordan, reinforcing the point that the bases that we have, they're no longer administrative garrison sanctuaries. We really need to start looking at our bases as warfighting formations, just as critical of a warfighting formation as our divisions, wings, and MEUs. Their nuclear stockpile is the fastest growing in the world. They're pursuing innovative, intelligentized warfare tactics. They're using artificial intelligence, drone swarms, exploring the cognitive and innovative domains to achieve their dominance. They're building a military design to dominate the Pacific, and I believe ultimately beyond the Pacific. None of us in uniform today have ever had to operate in a world where a legitimate peer simultaneously contests us in every single domain. We are talking terrestrially and non-terrestrially, kinetically and non-kinetically. We're going to have to fight to get to that fight, and we're going to have to embrace these challenges and not operate under the auspices of how we did in the 80s and 90s. History has proven, and our current operations are confirmed, that the society that can project and sustain power and sustain their forces most effectively, ultimately, they prevail, unquote. A top U.S. Marine general has warned that any future war with China may not begin with missiles, fighter jets, or conventional battlefield attacks. Lieutenant General Stephen Sklenka said the opening strikes could instead target American military bases through cyber warfare and other non-kinetic attacks. Sklenka warned that the Pentagon must urgently strengthen base defenses before any confrontation with Beijing erupts. The Marine general specifically called for hardened infrastructure, resilient power grids, and stronger counter-drone systems across U.S. military installations. His remarks come amid growing fears in Washington that China's military buildup has reached a level capable of directly challenging the United States. Sklenka also claimed Chinese President Xi Jinping has effectively placed China on a wartime footing backed by massive industrial output. The warning adds fresh urgency to rising US-China tensions even after President Donald Trump described his recent talks with Xi as successful.